Well, it's time to bring out my gorgeous guest. He used to be known as a reality TV bad boy, a heartthrob and the son of football royalty. But there really is so much more to him than that. I'm absolutely delighted that he's joining us today. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Callum Best.
Congratulations on the new show, well deserved.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm thrilled to bits of your guest. Before we talk about anything, I just want to say the effect that you've had in this building today. So I've just been having obviously a colossal amount of hair and makeup, absolutely tons of it.
You look gorgeous.
Thank you very much. One of the lovely ladies said, oh my God, just having a man that handsome in the building.
Wow.
Another one of the ladies said, I'm sure he gave me a wink when he left the makeup room. I'm sure he gave me a wink. It's made my whole day. I mean, there are palpitations wherever you go. And I'm not saying it to schmooze. I'm just saying what's literally happened. And you've only seen about 3 people so far. I wonder whether it's possible to know that you're having that effect and somehow not get really big-headed about it, or whether it gives you a big load of confidence or what?
Well, first of all, thank you. What an intro. I mean, you know, it's... I try to be as humble as possible. I don't think about those kind of things. But yeah, I was thinking about the intro there, about the reality TV and the bad boy image. And I think, you know, I'd be the first one to hold my hands up and say I was guilty of a lot of these things in my past. You know, I kind of lived my troublesome years in the eyes of the maybe entertainment and press and stuff like that. But all of them were lessons to get me to a proud man that I am today. You know what I mean? It's
been a long journey. I think people feel that they've known of you and about you for years and years. There's some water there if you fancy it. And it's been a long and public journey. I wonder whether you ever wish that you had become a pharmacist, an accountant, a geography teacher, you know, a long-haul truck driver, somebody who could have made your mistakes in private. Yeah, and, you know, wouldn't have had to kind of account for yourself the whole time. Because obviously one of the things we're saying today is you think he's X, he's not. He's different. Why should you have to explain and apologise and kind of rebrand yourself? If you'd chosen a different path, you could have done whatever you liked and no one would have known.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And funny enough, my mother, bless her, we're really, really close. I think she made a conscious effort when I was younger to raise me in the States so I wasn't in the public eye under this massive shadow of this iconic father who I love to bits and I'm very proud of. But I think, you know, when I was 21, I moved to London to just kind of get to know my dad and check out my heritage and where I was from. And I think it was that time I got caught up in it, you know what I mean? And I think when I came over here, there was a lot of good work and a lot of positive things, but I got caught up, not to get too deep, in a kind of sadder time that set me on a different path, which wasn't the healthiest or happiest.
But tell me what was enticing about it. Was it money? Was it attention? Was it kind of a high-octane kind of showbiz type of life? Was it, what was it? I mean, all those, actually, I must say, all those things do sound
it was
attractive.
great
Loads
fun.
of money, loads of women, loads of excitement, loads of attention, loads of affection, loads of stuff. It sounds very beguiling, actually.
I think to start, I quite liked the limelight. When I got here, there was a whole, you know, quite a lot of noise, and I soaked it all up, and I absolutely loved it. And it worked in my favors in many ways. But then I got caught up in a bit of a darker one because I started going down the wrong path. I lost my old man and I stopped caring as much. And it was during that time, probably from like 25 years old to about 30, that I kind of lost my way. And during that time, you know, the press had free reign. I was making mistakes. I hold my hand up. But you know, I sometimes look back and go, what if I didn't come here? Or what if I chose a different path? But at the end of the day, I really believe, Vanessa, that everything you do leads you to a place that you're at. And, you know, from a certain age onwards, I just started changing my ways and practicing different things, and my self-belief got stronger. And there's a real counter with having a really iconic old man, is that this pressure I find of when I was younger, how do I live up to that? I knew I wasn't going to be football, so I went, I'll go the other way really, really well. And I went down that path for a while, but I realized it wasn't good for my mind, my body, my soul, all these things. And you know, probably at about 30, I started to change my life for the better, and I'm 44 now, and I feel the best I've ever felt. But you still have to touch on and, you know, hold your hand up and address to what it was like when you were younger. But the thing was, I was caught up in a time where at one point, I think every day they were writing horrible things about me. So, you know, it started to take over. It started to not make me feel great, but...
Did it make you think, if you're going to write this, I'm going to do this? Or did it make you think, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to hope you don't find out? Or what did it make you think when every single day you read horrible things that have been written about you?
Well, I think at, 24, I quite liked being a single young man and enjoying myself.
Right.
You know, I quite like going for a drink. I quite like women's company. But after a certain amount of time, you're like, there's no progression in this. There's no real value or morale in this. And so probably about, 27, 28, I started to better myself, eat well, not drink as much, start training, do all these things, practice different self-help tools and stuff like that. And, that's been a long journey.
And when you say a long journey, we can all understand why. I mean, Oscar Wilde famously said, I can resist anything except temptation.
Yeah.
And, temptation is more, there's more of it if you're considered to be incredibly irresistible and you're in the public eye and you're at nightclubs. I mean, if you're just doing a job as I said, that lovely geography teacher or that long-haul truck driver, there will be temptation. Of course there will. Yeah. But when you're leading the life that you're leading, I mean, there's every kind of temptation. People are fawning over you. Women are chasing you. There are free drinks everywhere you go. If you want drugs, people will supply you with drugs. It's that kind of being very, very spoiled, very celebrated, starting to feel that you are rather special because people treat you as if you're special. And if you pretended you're not, that also doesn't work because actually you are a bit special. You're going to the front of every line. You're invited to every premiere. People are, acting like they desire you because they do desire you. You're not fooling yourself. It's kind of true, isn't it? So when you say, and then I did turn it around, it was a long journey. Let's not make it seem too easy because obviously it was a really hell of a thing to wean yourself off something that actually in many ways was absolutely magnificent for you.
Totally fair.
So how did you do it? And how did you sort of approach really trying to be a different person and live a different life in a different way?
Another Oscar Wilde quote I really like, every saint has a past, every sinner has a future.
Excellent. We could trade those.
We could really
go, yeah.
So I think when my old man passed away was when I hit the ultimate low. I'd been searching for all that, and I've spoke about this so many times, I sometimes feel silly backtracking, but for anybody that's interested, I lost hope because he was the hope, this building of rapport, this building of a father-son relationship. And when he passed, I literally said, screw everything. And I went down this, I don't care. And I was stuck in that for a long time. And it took my mother coming back from the UK, probably when I was about 29, maybe even 30, like an adult, but I was so tarnished and so lost at the time. And seeing her, and I remember I walked into this flat that she rented and there was like candles burning and there was like candelabras, there was a little dog. It was just little moments that I hadn't felt for probably 10 or 15 years because I packed up and moved away. And at that point, I remember saying, I've got to make my life better. And then I had an opportunity to make a documentary for the BBC. This is a long time ago. It's 20 years ago now.
But people will remember it then.
Called Brought Up by Booze.
I know.
And I traveled for 6 months around. Like, I was lost myself, but I went to charities. I went to addicts. I went to kids of addicts. Wore my heart on my sleeve the best I could. I remember I held it all in so much. And at the end, I sat down with this therapist and I've cried for the first time in however long. And it was very therapeutic. And from that moment on, it's just been an upward thing. But the thing is, I had such a good time during all of those troublesome years that there's still that thing in you where you go, all right, I can, as long as I can control certain aspects, but I choose intentionally to want to provide a value, to better myself, to better people around me. To support my charity, where I found during that documentary.
There's so much I want to say, but I really, really do want to say something about your mum.
Yeah.
Because I know your mum, and Angie Best. You could imagine any conversation would be about your late father, George Best, because obviously, when you use the word legend, people use it lightly. But this guy, as you've said, was iconic, extraordinary. Yeah. The athleticism, the appeal, the charm, the charisma, enormous. Yeah. But if you hadn't had him as a father, it would be perfectly possible to talk about the charisma and the absolute trailblazing genius of your mother. Because Angie Best just blazed a path to Hollywood. Yeah. She was Cher's personal trainer.
Yeah, that's right.
She was kind of only second really to Jane Fonda in kind of inventing the feel, the burn, the fitness, women taking control of their bodies, people just powering through the streets in Lycra. That was your mum. Yeah. And actually, she doesn't take much limelight for it, but she is a creative and visionary person. Yeah. And I think when you say you walked into that room and there was a little dog and it was warm and there's your mum and she loves you because she does love you, and you already said to me before on the show that you think she might have taken you away to America so that she could bring you up away from the public eye.
Conscious of it all.
So she is a huge influence. She's a big personality, isn't she? And she must have contributed a great deal to helping you to kind of rebrand, recalibrate, all that stuff.
Yeah, massively. And I'm one of those men that's proud to be a mama's boy. I sing her praises the best I can. I'm very proud of the things she's instilled in me, and the morale and the morals and all these things. And it's sometimes funny. I think about that a lot. The amount I speak on my old man, because he is, you know, this hero to so many. But also for me on a personal level, there's a woman who not only had to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think my dad was the only man she ever loved, and she's very conscious of that. Yeah. But she also had to deal with the other side of it as well. You know, and I think at one point it became too much. So she said, "I'll take my son and we'll go and do this." And you know, I couldn't be more proud of her. She's a businesswoman. She's an entrepreneur. She's, you know, I don't know if I can say her age, but she's at an age where she still wants to go out and get things done and create business. And she's a really good woman. And sometimes I laugh about the contrast of, you know, my iconic father who loved to drink and then my mother who's an absolute health nut and me trying to figure out, map the whole thing. But luckily the goodness came from it all and it's worked out really well. But I will take beautiful things from both of them. I'm proud of both my parents and I'm proud of the man I am because of them.
I've got to say, that's a hell of a nice thing to say, and I hope your mum is watching this, and I send her the biggest love. I'm going to blow her a kiss. She's lovely. Let me ask you, though, before we get deeply into addiction and the work that you're doing, and we take calls from fabulous viewers about this, but you are now a businessman. You have a restaurant. You have all sorts of things going on. Yeah. Do you have a natural flair for business? Not everyone can run a business.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. You know, I've been really blessed, Vanessa. We've known each other for a long time. And I think my first television show was when I was 23 years old. I'm 44 now. And I'm proud of myself to say that I've redefined and recreated along all these years. You know, my first show was all the way then, and my last one was a couple of years ago. I did the SAS show, and I've been able to still stay in and do all these things, but that comes with working on yourself and working to make these things happen. But along the way, you know, even being around for entertainment for this long, you've got to make sure that you create some foundations for yourself. And I like to be an entrepreneur. I like to be a businessman. I like to create and market and PR and do all these things.
You're one of the first guys to have a fragrance.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a big deal.
There's a new one coming as well.
Really? I mean, I can vouch for the fact that you smell delightful, but, you know, very personal comment, but I can. But it was a kind of groundbreaking thing at the time, wasn't it?
I remember it was after, it's so funny tracking back, but after the first Love Island, I think in 2004, when that thing first originated, and we were all living the dream. I remember I got a call saying, you're going on this show, it's in Fiji, you're going to live on this island for 6 weeks. And I booked it with my friend Fran Cosgrave, and we were friends before we even did this show. I remember just living on this beach and the camera and the drink. It was one of the best times of my life, obviously. But off the back of that being such a success, I remember I launched my first fragrance, and it was the first time anybody in the UK had done it. And it was a huge success. But back then, Vanessa, I wasn't clued into business.
Right.
Those were my troubled times. Right. I was just going, as long as you give me a little bit of money here and there, and I would go spend it, you know, the same day at a nightclub. Whereas now I understand business. I understand that you can't just live how I did then. And I want to, you know what it's like. The older you get and the more you learn, you try to put all these tools into more success.
I always think if I get another chance of living again, then I'd know what to do. But you know, I've made every mistake in the book and I'm still paying for loads of them.